Hey there! Finally, it's time to paint the hood of my car. I have an Audi A6 C5, where I previously replaced and painted the left fender, then replaced the right fender, as well as the right front door. And now it's finally time to work on the hood. As you can see, the hood is in a sorry state because there is no clear coat on its surface, especially at the beginning of the hood. After the clear coat peeled off, the paint started to chip, exposing the primer. Over time, the hood started to look terrible, so I want to repaint it and create a beautiful mirrored surface. I'll start by removing the front grille, for which I removed the seal from the edge of the hood. Next, I need to remove the grille itself. It is secured by spring clips. There are 5 of them on top and 1 on each side. Simply press on the clips and push the grille forward. By the way, the grille is not easily accessible because this latch linkage interferes with it. To solve this, I unscrewed 3 nuts from the latch and removed the linkage. Now I can pull out the hood grille. Next, I use 120 abrasive to remove the old clear coat, base coat and primer. After sanding the hood a bit, you can see that it has been painted several times. I removed the bad coating down to the old paint that was there before, but I won't bare the metal. I switched to a 100 grit sandpaper because 120 doesn't sand very well with my orbital machine, which has only a 2.5 mm orbit. Overall, I'll slowly sand with 100 abrasive and remove all the old paint. I removed the acid primer. Now I am finishing with 120 abrasive, and I am thinking of completely covering the hood with epoxy primer because it seems that the acid primer was applied here over the old coating, although it should be applied to bare metal. Also, the acid primer was applied only on the front and on the edges of the hood, but there was none in the middle. So now the entire surface is being sanded with 120 abrasive, then 180, 240, 320. In these areas with old paint, I'll apply 600 abrasive. I'll do the same with the hood edges. After that, I can apply the epoxy primer. I finally unscrewed the hood from these hinges to make it easier to paint and prime. Now I am finishing with 180 abrasive, then 240 and finally 320, and I can apply the epoxy primer. In the end, I finished with 180 sandpaper. There are, of course, some abrasions where there were deep scratches, so I sanded the hood down to the metal. There is no rust anywhere. The hood is aluminum, so I think epoxy primer will provide protection as well as acid primer. Next is the 240 grit sandpaper, then 320, and now I can apply the primer. Finishing sanding, making sure to go over with 600 abrasive where I'll point over the old paint, and then I apply 2 coats of epoxy primer. I degreased the hood, then mixed the epoxy primer. I applied the first coat of primer, not realizing that the hood is large. A large surface is much harder to paint than, say, a fender or a door. So it's crucial not to create stripes here. I hope it will go better in the process. At first, I got some craters even though I installed a new moisture separator and added a filter with silica gel after it to catch and remain in water. Most likely, water can still appear in the hose, so I should have degreased it as well. Now all the water is gone. There shouldn't be any more. It turned out like this. Of course, I should have covered the part with paper because the paint peels off the film and sticks to the hood, and the film itself sticks to the part. So when I start applying acrylic primer, I'll cover everything with paper. Well, in principle, I primed without any craters. Overall, it's been a day since I applied the epoxy primer. Now I'm sure it's completely dry, and I'll sand those areas where there is dust with 240 sandpaper and then apply acrylic primer. Next, I take red Scotch Brite and make a small stripe. In theory, if it hasn't been 72 hours, you can even skip the stripe and apply acrylic primers right away. I applied the stripe, then covered the hood with paper so that the paint doesn't fly off the film, diluted the acrylic primer and applied 2 coats. Finished applied the first coat. The paint gun got clogged at the end and started spitting out large drops of primer. I'll clean it up, and with the second layer I'll try to cover these areas. Finished applying the second coat of primer. There were some strange things with the paint gun too. Again, for some reason it started spitting, then the primer began to be applied in stripes, as if the touch only sprayed half. Anyway, I applied the primer as best I could. I think now, when it dries, these stripes won't be visible. A week has passed and the primer is completely dry. I think the base coat will cover these stripes without any problems. So now I start sanding with 240 sandpaper to remove any imperfections, then 320, 450, 100 to create a smooth surface and apply the first layer of paint. In the end, I sanded the hood to 500 grit and many abrasions appeared. I should have sanded the epoxy primer as well and then applied acrylic. As it is, I sanded everything flat, and that's why there are primer punctures. I think it's not a big deal, and the paint should cover it. Well, now I am applying the first layer. I applied 3 coats of paint, waiting for it to dry, and meanwhile I prepared the clear coat and applied 2 coats. In the end, I applied 2.5 coats of clear coat. The first was a mist coat and then 2 main ones. It seems to have turned out well, judging by how the clear coat spread. A mirror effect even appeared. The downside is the dust, which there was a lot of this time because I paint in the garage. I hope there won't be too many craters. A week has passed since the painting. The clear coat is finally high. I am satisfied with the result. If it weren't for the dust, I wouldn't even have to polish the surface. But now I'll remove all the debris with the sandpaper, then polish it. And I can finally put the hood in place and see the final result on the car. That's it for me. See you soon in the next videos. Bye!